Thank you very much, John. All right, we will call the meeting to order at 10:32. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the agenda if there are no changes from staff?
Victoria, this is Gail Sturden with the City of Colorado Springs. I would make a motion to approve the agenda as published.
Thank you, Gail. Second.
Ben Schmidt, City of Manatee Springs, second.
Thank you, Ben. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, that passes unanimously. Do we have any public comments or presentations today, Jared?
Madam Chair, we do not have anyone who signed up to provide public comment in advance. I will let anyone who's online who is not a member of the TAC to please use the raise hand function and let us know that they'd like to provide public comment. And I also offer the opportunity for anyone in the room to go up to the podium. I see no hands raised. I see no one at least making a motion to the podium. So I think we can proceed to the next item, your discretion.
Very good. Thank you so much. Approval of the meeting minutes from May 15th. Are there any comments or changes for the meeting minutes?
Victoria, this is Gail. I did not have any changes, and unless others do, I would recommend that we approve the minutes as published in our packet.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions, or a second?
This is Lan. I'll second.
Thank you, Lan. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And any opposed? Okay, hearing none, that passes unanimously. Board of Directors report. Who's taking that for us today?
I will take that today. This is Danelle Miller, PPACG Transportation Planner. The primary transportation item heard by the Board of Directors this month was the TIP Amendment number 4, which was to adjust the MMOF allocations in line with the rescinded funds from the state. That was approved and has been sent off to CDOT for inclusion in the STIP. I don't believe there were any other transportation items on the Board of Directors agenda this month.
Very good. Is there any questions for Danelle on that?
None for me, Victoria.
Thank you. All right, hearing none, I think we will move on to our action items, CDOT 10-year plan.
Hello, this is Rob Fry with CDOT, Plan Environmental Manager in Region 2. So CDOT's coming to you today. We're currently working on updating our 10-year transportation plan. And I want to give a little bit of background before we start going through the project list. So currently we are through funding year FY26. So now we're looking at funding years 27 through 36 with kind of two different staunches that we're looking at. The first staunch of money funding is that first 4 years of FY27 through 30, then FY31 through 36. Our timeline and schedule on getting this draft completed is the regions have been directed to provide a draft to our Executive Oversight Committee on July 11th, and then a final draft a final list by September 2nd. So what you have here, and we'll be talking about here shortly, is the draft that we're proposing to send up to the Executive Oversight Committee. And they gave us some guidance in a memo on how to select projects. So I'll go over those real quick. I think the first commitment that they wanted to make sure we did was to keep all current 10-year projects on the list and see them through completion, unless there's been a change in priorities. And we have 2 projects that we're not recommending moving forward, and we'll talk about those shortly. They're both transit projects here that had funding in FY27 through whatever it is, I think 31. We'll talk about those here in just a moment. The other direction we were given is to use policy directive 14 to select new projects moving forward. And so kind of the three tenets of policy directive 14. The first one is advancing transportation safety. Second one is fix our roads. And the third one is sustainability increasing. My notes and what's in front of me are two different things. Sustainability, increased transportation choice. So those are the three things, along with trying to keep as many of the projects on the original list moving forward as possible. Region 2, their allocation for the first 4 years was $166 million for all 5 of our planning areas. What we have in front of you for the Pikes Peak area is $81 million of that 166. And then the years 5 through 10, or FY 31 through 36, we have $249 again across 5 regions, and we have $102 million identified for the Pikes Peak region as well. I think one other caveat was the direction in selecting projects was we were to give especially poor rated and low drivability life roads segments priority in selecting projects as well. So with that, I will go ahead and just kind of jump into the table there, Jared. Perfect, thank you. We'll just go through kind of the completed projects first that have been completed off the 10-year plan. I won't spend much time on them, but the first one is the I-25 Colorado Springs Ramp Metering Project. That's been completed. Colorado 21, or Pars Boulevard and Research Parkway interchange's been completed. Bridge preventive maintenance on I-25, Colorado 16 and US 24. Bijou Street Storage and Maintenance Facility, and then outrider improvements at Tejon and Park and Ride. Next one, we'll look at active projects, and I'll probably toggle back and forth, and I'll help you there, Jared. But these are the active projects that we're keeping in our 10-year plan that are either in construction or still in planning or in design that we're still maintaining, going to continue to keep forward. So that first one is the I-25 Colorado 94 Safety Mobility Improvement, the MAMSIP project. I think that one's pretty much just about wrapped up. I-25 Paving and Mobility, Fillmore to Garden the Gods, that's in construction right now. Colorado 21, again, Powers Boulevard and Airport Road, the DDI interchange, that's in construction as well. Colorado 67 north of Woodland Park, that project's in construction. Then we had the US 24 East widening from Garrett to Woodman Road. That's in design right now. We have the US 24 West Over Ridge Road. We're keeping that project. We have funding pushed out into FY 31 through 36. Safety and operational improvements, exit 135 South Academy and to exit 138 Circle Lake. Keeping that one as well with money in both tranches of years. And then we have the Monument Park and Ride is a transit project that we're continuing to move forward. Colorado Springs Transit Center, hoping to get that one moving forward and wrapped up soon. Woodman Road Mobility Hub, keeping that one as well. High capacity corridor improvements in El Paso County. That's more of a planning study. Continue to keep that. And then the Fort Carson Circulars service to Pikes Peak. It should be State College now. We can fix that. So those are the projects that are currently on our 10-year list that we're continuing to keep. And if you want to scroll down to the next one, so those are the 2 transit projects that we're recommending to remove. These had funding in the previous 10-year or in the current 10-year plan for 27 plus, based on other priorities and limited funding. We are recommending that these be removed. We are adding a couple. So those are out years money that money hasn't been allocated to those projects yet. So those are the 2 projects that we're looking at removing. And then we'll go through the new projects, and I'll have John help me as needed to address any questions here, and then I'll just open it up to everybody. So the new projects is to replace the railroad bridge over I-25 between.
It's just South Academy Circle.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
road bridge there.
Thank you. Thought there might be a better reference. US 24H resurfacing I-25 to Powers Boulevard. That's a new project. We're looking at that one for actually in the first 4 years. I-25 resurfacing Woodman to Colorado 105. And then again, another resurfacing US 24G Powers to Garrett Road, Colorado 105, I-25 to Palmer Lake. And then replace bridges I-17R and J-17M on US 85. I believe those are the two bridges on the north and south end of that corridor that go over Fountain Creek. Colorado 21 and Milton Proby Parkway interchange design, $2 million to go to design there. And then the two new transit projects using the FY26 or earlier funding. We're recommending both the South Pikes Peak Mobility Hub and the North Pikes Peak Mobility Hub as well. So with that, that's what CDOT is proposing in our new 10-year plan. Didn't know if anybody had questions or between me and John, we're happy to answer questions.
Gail?
Okay, my computer says I can't unmute and I couldn't raise my hand. So can you hear me all? I'm not sure if it's
Yes.
working properly. All right. I don't know why the raise hand function was disabled. I think Jared's trying to punish me because he knows I'm going to ask too many questions. This first one is going to be a question, and this is really going to be more on land on your behalf. On the bottom where you had the north and the south Pikes Peak mobility hubs, just concerned about where those are going to be located and how those are coordinated with Mountain Metro. And I believe we have another upcoming meeting to have more details about this, but is this intended to be a collaborative project between the local transit agency versus the regional bus staying effort, or something different? And Lana, if you want to expand on that question, please do.
Yeah, thank you, Gail, for asking that question. I believe from Mountain Metro's perspective, we would like this to be a collaborative effort between MMT, well, really PPSC, CDOT, and bus stand service, because it would make sense for bus stand to have stops at the mobility hubs that we're developing and also transporting people to the local system so they have access to the local MMT system as well. So that is our intent to collaborate.
Yeah, I think that's CDOT's intent as well, with the caveat of we are still waiting on the transportation connection study to be completed. I think there's opportunity there, and if it makes sense for bus staying to use both of those facilities, we'll definitely work with Mountain Metro to do that, make sure that the buses fit and the routes and everything times right. So that's definitely the intent if it makes sense. If it makes sense for our buses to use both those facilities. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, Gail and Lan, or not.
I think it does, don't you, Lan? I think, yeah.
So Gail and Lan, is that something you would like to have CDOT bring back to us once they have a little bit better idea of what that connection study says, so that we have an opportunity to sort of reapprove the location of those two projects? Would that be helpful for you?
Lan, why don't you jump in and answer this question? I think the short answer is yes, but there's some other things coming up in the next few weeks that might be helpful too. So Lan.
Yeah, I think Victoria, yes, I think it would be helpful to see the recommendations from CDOT connection study, because even last time when we connected with the Air Force Academy, and they expressed interest in having a stop from at their North Gate from both bus stand and MMT service, how we connect. And I later on followed up to connect bus stand service and USAFA. I don't think we have to wait until we see the connection study to approve those locations. I think those are consistent with the early results of what we have been talking to CDOT, the main corridor, how we connect. So I think definitely beneficial to see the recommendation from the study, but I don't think we need to wait for the results to move forward here.
Sure. Would you just like to have it brought to back to the TAC for an information item when CDOT has those? Okay, CDOT, are you willing to do that?
Yeah, I think we can certainly. So if I'm hearing you right, you're good with the projects that are at land, but you guys want an update on the transportation connection study when it's ready and see whether or not it jives with both the North and South Pikes Peak Mobility Hub and how we can
Yes.
work together.
Yeah,
Is that
thank you.
correct?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, we can certainly do that.
And I don't know how to raise my hand when the chair is online. So I'm raising my hand. Hey, and I think the other thing, Lan, you correct me if I'm wrong, but we've had regional meetings where, again, CDOT, Scott Skinner, and other folks have been very active in participating in that. So we've, at these meetings that have been held here at PPACG, we've had great MMT attendance. We've had attendance from CDOT on a consistent basis. So I think we have the mechanism in place by which not only when we get the final on the TCS study, we have, as these projects move forward into the future, we now have a transit mechanism where we can have those discussions. Is that a fair thing to say, Lan, that we're bringing transit more out into the open and more part of the mainstream process?
And thank you for leading that effort also.
Well, and that was a question I think he asked you, though, Lan, but I think the answer is still a yes.
This is Hal Archer with the Academy. I just wanted to ask if there's anything that you would need from us for that connectivity study that you were referring to just now. And then also I was at the event that Lan came to the Academy and talked about those transit connections as a possibility. And there's some interest there, but there are also challenges to work through. So whatever it is that you would need from the Academy, we just would like to be involved.
Perfect. No, thank you. As far as the timing of the transportation connection study, it was supposed to be completed quite a while ago, to be blunt. We're still waiting on it. I was told I would get a peek at it yesterday, and I still haven't seen it. So that's a long roundabout way of, I think they're pretty much about as far down the line as they can be. I think they're going to present a draft here any minute. So as far as that goes, I don't think, if you haven't been contacted, I can bring that up to DTR and ask them to please do that in the future. As far as the North Mobility Hub, we'll certainly keep you guys in the loop and let you know what you need.
And I had mentioned those meetings that we're holding here. I'll reach out to Lisa and make sure that you get invited to the next one, which I think is Monday next week. Yeah, so we'll send you the invite.
Thank you very much.
Are there any other questions for CDOT on the list? Okay, hearing none. Does anyone like to make a motion on this?
Victoria, this is Gail. I will make a recommendation that the board review and recommend the proposed 10-year plan provided by CDOT. Can I just put a note to CDOT staff that be prepared to have the board ask some maybe challenging questions so they can further understanding the changes in transportation funding within the Pikes Peak region and how the projects were prioritized maybe differently.
Yes, we
Thank
can
you.
do that.
Thank you for that motion and your comment. And if there are other comments on that motion? Okay, hearing none, I'll take a second.
This is Scott Barnhart, El Paso County. I second.
Thank you, Scott, and welcome. Hope you have a chance to introduce yourself to everybody. I probably should have done that earlier, and I apologize for that.
Well, and I think I just figured out earlier this week that you were at the county, Scott. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, let's finish up this motion and then I'll make Scott introduce himself. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming, Rob. And on item B, tip amendment number 5, Danelle, are you taking that today?
I am. I do have our new tip planner here, Josh Squires. This is his first TAC meeting, so he's just getting his feet wet. But for today, this is just kind of a housekeeping tip amendment, but it is something we need to bring forward for transparency. When we did the fiscal year 25 through 29 tip, we were required by federal law to have 4 years of programmed funding. What we do here at PPACG is also include a 5th illustrative year. So what we're asking for now is to simply bring that illustrative year into be the 4th official programmed year. So it doesn't actually change any of the funding that was already chosen by the TAC and approved by the board, but we wanted to bring it forward as a formal amendment for everyone's just awareness.
Let me start with thanking PPACG staff for doing this because it makes it much easier than trying to do another call for projects, and it makes it more of an administrative process. So thank you for looking into the future far beyond what you're required to. With that, any other questions for Danelle or Josh on this amendment? Okay,
You do have a question.
Oh, thank
yeah.
you.
This is Lindsay Hawkes, CDOT Region 2. Thank you so much for your effort in this, and then we look forward to seeing you soon. One thing just to keep in mind is the different reconciliation that we recently sent with the different funding programs. I think carbon reduction was one of those that were impacted by that, and so happy to take a look with you guys and go forward with that. So thank you.
Yes, just for the whole tax awareness, the CDOT recently provided some numbers for the reconciliation of actual revenue versus projected revenue. It does look like we will potentially have to either reduce some funding or push some funding out into further years, but we're hoping to kind of roll that into our next call for projects and work with Lindsay on the reconciliation of that. But that's something we'll talk about in future months.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
Victoria, this is Gail. I'll recommend we review and approve the fiscal year 25 through 29 tip amendment as presented.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Ben
I
Schmidt,
second. Go ahead.
City Manatee Springs second.
Thank you. Motion and second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, I think this is a will item for regional data services.
Thank you, Victoria. Hello, members of the TAC. My name is William Mass, GIS and Modeling Manager here at PPACG. I wanted to bring before you this information item related to our regional traffic data services and potentially a new data service if there's interest. For those who aren't familiar, we have a regional license for streetlight application, provides travel information based on connected vehicles. And we've been using this service in the region really for, I think, 3 years now. And so our current contract allows us to renew it without having to issue a new RFP. But again, we want to bring it before the TAC and see if there is interest in continuing to renew it. It does require a local match in order to access the funds that continue to pay for that annual license. And then going along with that, if there's interest, we've had some members of the TAC kind of bring up potentially doing a regional traffic crash or traffic safety service as well. Right now, PPACG staff takes traffic crash data from CDOT. We geocode it, map it, and put it together into a public map and dashboard. However, because we get it from CDOT after it's been cleaned of personally identifying information, it's typically about a year behind. So we won't get, for example, 2024's data and from CDOT until this fall, and then we'll have it map geocoded probably by October or so. There are services out there who are advertising to be able to work directly with law enforcement in the region to be able to take their police reports using AI and some other technologies to try and geocode it and get it mapped and put it out there in a much faster. So that's something that's been brought up to a couple of TAC members, and we're looking for guidance to see if there's interest. Again, if there is interest, we can go through the process and initiate this. We can do the RFP, but we'll need to get an idea of what's available in terms of local match from our member government so that we have an idea of what we can advertise for annual costs, and also determine if this is something we would want to try out for like 1 year or try and do like a 3-year program. So we have some things to discuss. We're bringing it before you now. Because this process obviously takes time if we want to renew streetlight, if we want to go a different direction, and if we want to do the traffic data service. Ideally, we would have enough time to put together a budget, understand who's contributing the local match requirements, and get an RFP out and a vendor selected so that the contract can begin for the 2026 calendar year. Are there any questions on these services? All right.
So, well, I don't have a question on your service, except sort of a question. So is there any chance of getting maybe a 1-month look at that crash data product to take a look, try it out, and see if it's something we would be interested in?
The problem with one, we wouldn't be with the TAC, right? Because we don't do sales presentations in front of the TAC. It would have to be after we've issued an RFP. 2, that protects us from, if we do issue an RFP, of having issues where another vendor comes in and then say we were kind of already predisposed or biased because we already had a sales pitch and a demo and everything from a vendor. So the correct process that we follow is we do the RFP, and then if there is a vendor that wants to reply to that, then we would take anybody who submits a proposal and that we're interested in, and then we would be able to do a demo. And that way other vendors who have replied can also do a demo. But we kind of got to go down the RFP process first. Now that's on the PPACG side of things. If an individual jurisdiction wanted to do their own demo and look at something, that's perfectly fine. But that's not something that we would entertain at PPACG.
But remember, and just because we release an RFP doesn't mean we are then locked in, right? We could release an RFP, you could look at, 2 or 3 different sort of vendors, and then you guys could tell us, nope, we don't want anything, and then that's it. We are not locked in and actually then awarding something, right? So we have options. It's just a matter of, it is a ton of work to develop an RFP. And so we just want to make sure that that is something that is the best use of our time moving forward as far as what you all as jurisdictions want to see happen.
Yeah. Can I ask a question? And this, you might hate me for this, so I apologize up front. But in advance of an RFP or included as part of the RFP, could we have what we would refer to as an RFI portion where we could have these various vendors who are making these promises have demonstration logons and work products that they could share with us so we can make a more informed decision on the quality of the data we're going to be receiving?
Yes, we can. Again, as long as it's something that's been advertised. Our policy here and the guidelines that we need to follow is we just can't we can't pick a vendor and say, why don't you come show us what you have if we're not making it open to other vendors. So as long as it's something we advertise to the public, we put it out there and say, this is, an RFI, anybody that's interested or has a product that might satisfy these needs, we're curious about it. And that way we can say it was fair. We opened it up to anybody who was interested and we weren't just cherry picking a particular vendor.
Mm-hmm. This is the other thing, and I just pulled the system up to be able to look at it. Have we looked to see if any of these particular vendors are on Sourcewell? Because that has been gone through a competitive RFP process. And if we can identify particular vendors, we could potentially contract with them.
Yeah, we're not really sophisticated here. We got like 10 folks and we do our best to just keep the lights on. I don't even know what Sourcewell is. So if you guys
Todd,
haven't, want to
maybe
invite
Todd,
the
let
other
me ask Todd.
jurisdictions?
Todd, do you know the answer to this question? Because I'm trying to come up with an easier way to do the procurement, and two, to make sure that we're going to be happier or have the higher likelihood of being happier with the product once we go through this RFP process.
Gail, I don't know specifically I can't answer your question specifically, but I did one vendor that did reach out and had a couple of meetings with them. They did not appear to be on Sourcewell. So
okay,
that was at least one of them that Will has referred, they've also reached out to Will as well and made some pretty audacious claims about getting access to data. So
yeah. Well, and what's their name of the company again?
Crash. What is Will? You remember, or can you not say? I'll look it up. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Todd too.
Okay. Gail, I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds good though, but as assuming that they're not on Sourcewell, we have to do an RFP. Are there other things that we can give Will to make sure, one, that we're getting maybe a wider breadth of potential services coming through, and anything that would be helpful to him where we can have a demonstration provided through the procurement process to make sure that they're going to provide what they say is actually even viable in the marketplace? Because frankly, Will, I'm having a hard time, and I know Todd, they've reached out to you too. I'm having a hard time thinking that passes the straight face test. Let's be honest.
I honestly don't remember the name of the vendor that we were discussing. I know they've reached out to Todd and Victoria. But the reality is I have vendors reach out to me all the time and I can't keep them straight anymore. I will say that when they gave us a quick demo, we also I didn't have a straight face. I told them that I was very dubious. And if we did an RFP, that would be the number one thing we want to see is some kind of example of how they're able to get access to police records so quickly, and able to use what they're promising in order to geocode crash data. It seems like it's possible, but the example that they gave was a city they already had access to the records. So yeah, we're interested in checking it out. We're open to it. We want to be completely obviously transparent and follow our guidelines that we need to as a federally funded regional entity. So again, it doesn't have to be a full RFP. We can support an RFI, but either way, we would still have to have something that we can submit as far as funding. We need to know who is stepping up to potentially provide the local match. And again, not only just for the crash data services, if we wanted to get demos coming in under the RFI, but again, some guidance on whether or not we want to continue Streetlight, or if we want to look at other options. Right now, the $49,736 is split between El Paso County and Colorado Springs. I know that there are other jurisdictions who are using this service. So If anybody else wants to come up with some local match, I'm sure they would appreciate that. And if Colorado Springs and El Paso County want to change what they're doing with that, again, we just need to know so that we can start working on whatever direction we need to go with.
Will,
Yeah,
this is Ben
Will.
Schmidt. Oh, sorry, go ahead. It's Ben Schmidt, City of Manitou. Was just seeing, do you have any idea of what that rough increase is between the vendors? I know it's hard without going through that formal RFI process to see what that additional local match would be, like orders of magnitude difference.
We're locked in. So for streetlight, we don't have an increase. It would just be if somebody else wants to step up so that Colorado Springs and El Paso County, some of their local match could go to the crash data or other services.
Okay, and I was just thinking for additional vendors, if we had an idea if it was going to be substantially more expensive than the streetlight. If we went out
to other vendors based on the last RFP, streetlight was the most expensive. The company that came in second, I believe, was Locust, partnered with Cambridge Systematics, and it was, I'd have to go back and look at the numbers. I believe it was roughly like 40 or 50 grand cheaper for the annual license. So in terms of the local match, it isn't really a huge figure. But there are cheaper options. Yeah. Now, whether or not they provide the same service and the same interface that streetlight provides is where you start splitting hairs, and it depends on, again, what jurisdiction's needs are in terms of the traffic data they're looking for.
This is Scott with El Paso County. I know in the short time I've been there, we've been pretty unsatisfied with the data streetlights providing, particularly in the more rural parts of the county. There just aren't enough connected vehicles out there to be able to get a big enough sample to get accurate counts. I don't know if anybody else could do any better short of just doing actual counts, but that's been our experience.
And Will, sorry, Todd, I'm raising my hand. I'm not following on. I'll say that on streetlight, we've had the opposite experience with the county on it, and rely on it a lot for for count data, to do signal timing, before and after studies of speed mitigation we've made. At least for one more year, if we want to sort of evaluate a different vendor, because I just had a presentation, someone else gave me a presentation on a similar product, that I think the city would be willing to cover the this year's match until we can figure out if we want to go a different route.
Thank you for that, Todd, because I was going to highlight that El Paso County will not be providing half of that match this time.
Yeah, and we've had that discussion before. So yeah, and then Will, sorry, I don't want going back to the crash thing. I think what might be helpful, we have Crash Magic, and we are getting updates from PD every 2 weeks. So it might be good for me to set up a meeting with me, you, and Andy Richter on our side, and see how we made that happen, because it took 3 years to make it happen, but we did it. And we are ingesting CDOT, or at least Crash Magic is taking PD data, and at least giving us a database. It's not geocoded or not georeferenced and all that stuff, but at least giving us something. If you're interested, I could set something up.
Todd, if you do set something up, will you include, I'm going to say Scott on this one.
Okay.
Because you guys do your own crash reports, that might work well. I'm not sure if it works in the county where the state police does our crash reports.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would want to have Scott take a look at that and be able to ask some of those questions.
Okay. All right. I'll talk to Andy. He was able to make it all work after many years of banging his head against the wall. So I'll see and I'm not even sure how they got it to work, but they had to jump through a lot of hoops and different things, but they were able to do it. So I'll set something up.
Thank you. And on, Will, this is not going to help you at all, but it's a piece of information. I do want to talk to our GIS folks who have been doing a geolocating of our crash data. And so I want to check with them about how confident they are or how much work it puts into them and get some senses from them about whether or not they'd like to offload that and look at a different system. So I don't know the answer to that, but that's something I will get for you.
All right, Todd, Victoria, that sounds great. Todd, certainly open to meeting with you and Andy. We used Crash Magic and did something similar in terms of mapping our crash data for Dougco and Castle Rock. But again, it's different when it's internal and you have some influence over the workflow. Again, what we're talking about, and you miss other agencies that are responding within your jurisdiction. With if you have an IGA for public service, then there could be a lot of agencies that are responding that you wouldn't capture if it's just an internal workflow. So, like again, Colorado State Patrol. So yeah, there's some considerations that with a vendor, promising and what they can actually deliver that, again, like I mentioned, make me dubious. And I think everybody else that's heard this is kind of questioning it. But if it comes through, could possibly save a lot of people a lot of time because we're all kind of working to reinvent the same wheel. So, but happy to meet with you in Victoria. Let me know after discussing with your GIS people and the effort they're putting into geocoding, what's going on with the county and maybe sheriff's office and their crash reporting. If that's something that you're interested in, then again, we can maybe discuss what that would look like in local match. So at least we have a ballpark budget if we put out an RFI.
This is Scott again. If we were to look at somebody who says they have an ability to get CDOT data sooner, can we insist on them providing some kind of agreement that they have with CDOT that backs that up and isn't just them saying it and then spending the next 9 months not getting what they said they can get?
Yeah, I would imagine that would be part of the RFP process is we'd have to establish a deadline on when they could actually get their system established and when we'd see those results. And then if it's not met, then that would be one of the contract conditions. And obviously we would have to ensure that whatever the consultant is selected for this, it's something that they would agree to. I think that's everybody's number one concern is to promise and underdeliver and then leave us on the hook for, $100,000 or so of service that failed to materialize. Nobody wants that.
Any other thoughts or questions for Will? Will, I'm not sure we helped you much, but other thoughts or questions?
No, this has been helpful. Thank you. We'll make sure that we plan on continuing with Streetlight. I'll get with Todd in Colorado Springs since they'll be picking up the local match to continue that service. And then depending on the meetings that we have with Andy at Colorado Springs and their Public Works GIS team, and then Victoria with your GIS team, I'm sure we can come back together and decide if this is something that we want to pursue. And if so, then yeah, we'll be happy to do the legwork put together. Again, we won't call it an RFP. We can do an RFI, but at least it'll be public so that we can see what kind of vendors respond and get an idea of how feasible this might be and be able to just pepper them with questions.
Great. Thank you, Will. All right. Looks like we are down to member entity announcements. And on that, I will start with allowing Scott to introduce himself. He is now a voting member. So Scott, take it over.
Thank you, Victoria. Hi, I'm Scott Barnhart. I'm the new traffic operations manager for El Paso County. I've lived in this area since about 2001, worked with a couple of different consultants, been working with different government entities the whole time, and just kind of the opportunity arose that made sense for me, but I'm happy to be here.
I am very happy to have you here, Scott. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations again, Scott.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations, Scott. Good to have you on.
Anyone else have announcements for the group?
Madam Chair, I don't have an announcement, but I just want to follow up on Gail's comment. If CDOT staff, Rob, if you need any more information about how the mobility hubs could support the express bus network that we're working with and improve connections with between bus stand service and MMT service, we're happy to send you more information for the board meetings. And thank you for your support of those projects.
Yeah, thanks, Lan. You probably don't want me involved, but I'll have Scott and Jeff follow up with you as we move forward.
Kathleen. Kathleen, you are on mute. Is she not here that I'm calling on her?
She's raising her hand. There she is.
Kathleen, do you have an announcement?
Well, and she might be having problems finding the unmute.
So Kathleen, I demoted you and then re-promoted you. Sometimes that kind of clears it out a little bit.
All right, well, we let Kathleen work that out. Does anybody else have a comment while Kathleen's working on that?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Lindsay Hawkins, CDOT Region 2 Planning. Just wanted to congratulate Josh once again and welcome Scott. We are working on roll forwards and we will continue to get those to you guys. And thank you for just your continued collaboration, coordination, communication. Thank you for accommodating this and allowing us to continue to have and moving this meeting so we can address the 10-year plan. I greatly appreciate that and it's a pleasure to work with you guys. So thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Kathleen, are you back on?
She might have left to come back in because sometimes that, the old turn it on, turn it off, turn it on again, IT. So as we're ready, oh, Kathleen, you're back. Are you able to unmute now? No, she's shaking her head no. All right, well.
Jared, can you unmute her for her?
I can't manually unmute her. I can give her the option to unmute, but I can't control her mute button.
You could call me Kathleen and I could just hold my phone up to the microphone. While we're waiting for Kathleen, Victoria, just wanted to make sure everybody knew that federal reauthorization is coming down the pike. And sometimes when they do that, they take fund sources and they remove them or they rename them or they fund a new fiscal year bucket of fund source by removing an old fiscal year source bucket. So I hate it when I'm like doing the best I can to do something and then someone comes up and goes, well, you need to try hard. I'm like, I am trying as hard as I can. I don't want to be that guy. I know you guys are all trying as hard as you can, but I will let you know if internally within your organization, if you're pushing and someone is giving you resistance that, oh, we've got plenty of time on all your federal projects, you don't. And I'm happy to come over and help you clear those sorts of things and make sure that they understand that when the federal funds become available, they need to be spent. And if they get cleared out as part of the new reauthorization, then the bucket of money is gone. There's no replacing it. So we just need to make sure that older projects continue to move forward. On a somewhat related note, if you survived the first slaughter of MMOF, there's not going to be a lot of money for the state legislature to come grab next year. So again, to the extent, I know you guys are trying as hard as you can, but to the extent you guys can push and either get MMOF money spent on the state side and federal dollars spent on the federal side, especially things that have names in them that might make people queasy or make artificial intelligence filters go off, like carbon reduction or things like that. It is in your best interest to do that. Again, if you've got your staff's working as hard as they can and you're working as hard as you can, but you have somebody that is a obstruction in the system, please let me know, and I'm happy to go and give them a little lesson in how federal funding works, and that they very well may be the reason why monies are lost to the region. So happy to help in any way we can. But again, that's something I wanted to flag for you guys. With that, I've filled as much time as possible. Kathleen, are you available? Oh, she left again?
I have the updates I can provide for Kathleen, if you allow.
Go
So
ahead,
there,
Lindsay. Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. So for the CDOT headquarters updates, there is a new team member of the multimodal planning branch. Her name is Liz Young-Win. She's a new land use and main streets planner. The July virtual stack was moved to Thursday, July 10th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. just to allow the calendars to align due to the holiday. In the 2050 statewide plan update, the public comment period is scheduled for July 16th for the 2050 statewide plan and rural TPR regional transportation plans. There is a statewide plan survey that's available. I'm more than happy I can send that out to the group. That does close on June 27th, 2025. And there are TC workshops and regular meetings being held today. There is discussion on the TC and CTIO workshop, as well as joint service intergovernmental agreements. There are fiber fees and surcharge updates and election of officers for the fiscal years 25 through 26, chair and vice chair.
Thank you, Lindsay. Any questions for Lindsay? All right, so future TAC updates. Obviously, we're going to have some roll forwards, probably some tip amendments. We're going to talk about regional data services again. And John and Danelle, anything else we should keep our heads up for?
The UPWP out for public comments, so that will come back with any comments that we receive. We did have a reassessment of funds from CDOT, so we're going to maybe have to adjust our UPWP to account for that. But we'll sort of bring that to you when we know what that is. What else?
Next month, we are expecting an update from Jason O'Brien on the safety action plan. And also, Josh will be reaching out to everyone for project status meetings, just to kind of both introduce Josh to everyone, make sure everybody is coordinating, and also get that quarterly project status up to date.
Thank you very much. If there is nothing else, I will adjourn this meeting at 11:25. Have great days, everybody.
Thank you.